Randy. Thank you for being
Hello.
available today to talk
Thank you.
about some financial tips. COVID has been rough on everyone in lots of different ways, especially financially. I think every community has been hit, but I'm more concerned about our community. A lot of us work in like construction positions or custodial at the schools, the airport, stuff like that. All these places have been shut down due to the virus. So our community is living off of unemployment, which is, we know, a fraction of your normal wages that you would be making. And so I really wanted you to talk to the viewers today about how they can maximize saving or trying to save during these times, that they're getting less than normal. And if they were already struggling to live off of their full paycheck, now it's even more of a strain financially living off of a portion. So any tips that you can give on saving money, paying down credit card debt, and while you have a couple dollars, just anything that you find will be beneficial for our community right now.
Okay. Well, again, thank you for having me. In terms of what's going on right now, I think that it's important for people to really have the mindset of, I guess, having the mindset of, instead of trying to like stretch things, really sacrificing now to really put things in motion for the future. So you have to think of like, okay, this is a short-term sacrifice for a long-term gain. When I think about financial literacy and I think about managing your finances effectively, it really goes down to restraint and discipline. I know it's easier said than done, which is why one of the big tips that I really stress is paying yourself first. I know that sounds really weird because it's like, okay, I pay myself first, but most of the time we'll always find there'll always be something we have to pay for, right?
Right.
So what I stress is to create a budget. And within that budget, when you receive that paycheck or any type of income, what you should do is always put a percentage aside for future investment, for personal use, for savings. So that's what I do all the time. As soon as I get my paycheck, it's not like, oh, bills, this and that. I know that's what you're trained to think that way. But what I always do is say, okay, I set a number of $100 a month, or I set a number of $500 a month. I'm going to take that away immediately, and I don't see it anymore. And so it's that type of restraint that allows you, and that discipline that allows you to be like, okay, that's gone. That's no longer mine. Now let me work with the number that I do have. Then you start to prioritize the billing and everything else. But in terms of my suggestion, it would be to, create a budget for yourself. See how much you need to save. So if you get paid, it also depends on when you get paid. If you get paid at the first of the month and that's it for the whole month, or if you get every 2 weeks, figure out, okay, maybe that first paycheck will be to my savings, and then the bit into the major bills, like maybe my mortgage or my rent. And then the second one is going to be for everything else, or so you try to find ways to break it up so that it doesn't seem like it's all coming at you at once, if that makes sense. So, so that's the biggest thing is, and then if you are, I want to stress the importance of creating your own business. And I know some people will be like, well, I have a job. Like, what do you mean create my own business? That's going to take a lot of money and things like that. But really, if you have your own independent business, it allows you to have write-offs. There's a lot of tax benefits to having a small business. That's important because what you're doing is you're allowing yourself to diversify your portfolio. You may have your main stream of income, which is your job, or if you're collecting that unemployment right now. But if you start to trickle and put some of that into your small business, what happens is it could be something you're passionate about. It could be something like selling crafts or selling things that you make. It could be anything that you are really passionate about. And what you're doing is you're really transferring those funds from, I'm giving these funds away, to reinvesting in yourself. And I think that's the biggest takeaway, especially now since we have so much time on our hands. Really sit and really figure out what are some things that I can do for myself to better myself. I may hate my job. I may not, I don't like the fear of being potentially laid off or, things like that. So it's important to reinvest in yourself and your personal passions. It doesn't have to be a major company. It can be, like I said, something simple as just, selling baked goods or selling jewelry or, doing whatever it is that you're passionate about and being able to capitalize on that. That way, A, you always have a stream of income. B, you'll never be laid off of your job that you own. And C, you get a lot of tax benefits from it. So those are just a couple of things in terms of how you can be creative with how you manage your finances right now. But a really big thing, and especially within the Black community that I'm finding is that, a lot of people lack discipline and lack the ability to say, okay, I'm going to substitute this Starbucks for making coffee at home. Or, you know what, that Gucci purse or that Louis Vuitton, whatever it is, that
is not necessary right now.
It's not necessary right now. And so I think that's also a big thing to think about is look at it as from a perspective of a period of time. So this sacrifice for a period of time is going to yield you a bigger return. And so that's another thing that I really want to stress. So really, all in all, we're shifting the mindset. So that's what it comes to. It comes to, okay, instead of what can I afford, let's think about it as, okay, how can this make me money? That's as simple as it goes. Like shifting that mindset. Don't think buy, what can I afford? Oh, I can't afford these. Oh, I can technically afford these Jordans, or I can't afford this purse or these clothes. Don't think affordability. Think about it in a sense of, okay, how can this in the long term make me money? Now, if I want that new outfit, is that going to make me money? So now if you are in a profession where it requires for you to dress a certain way, it's going to make you some money. So it's important to reinvest in yourself by doing that. But if it's just to floss in front of your friends, and so I really, that's the biggest thing that I can say that I can take away that like really wealthy people do is have that mindset of how is this going to make me money, give me a bigger return so that then I can spend it on my luxuries and things like that. So it's really investing in assets to acquire luxuries, not the other way around. And I think that's the biggest thing that Black people need to understand is that you buy assets to afford the luxuries. So I know and like I said, you don't have to have a lot of money to start with that mindset. I was 22 when I bought my first home. And it was my little nest egg. And I was really putting all that I had into this home. But guess what? That home ended up giving me such a large return. I could have never gotten that with it sitting in the bank. So some people think, oh, let me just put this money in the bank and let it sit, as opposed to what is something that I can invest in? Exactly. What can I invest in so that it can make me money in the future? And so I think, for people right now that are currently in unemployment and receiving that income, buying a home and, acquiring assets seems far-fetched. But what I will say is with this money, with your stimulus check that you are going to have to pay back. Okay. Let me stress that you will have to pay back. It is a loan. And so you will be taxed on it. So I think people need to understand that's not just free money to be like, yes, I got my stimulus check. Let's go. We ballin'. No. At the end of the day, that stimulus check should be either to truly use towards your emergency bills and things that you need right now. But if you don't, and you have a little bit of a nest egg, you need to take that stimulus check and reinvest in yourself. And when I say that, I mean, put it away, put it aside if you absolutely do not need it, and reinvest. That could go towards your down payment on your home. That can go towards any accidentals or any emergencies that may come in the future. So I will say, that's the benefit of paying yourself first, having a number or percentage in mind and putting it aside. for yourself. So that's again the biggest thing. And then making sure that, for those big ticket items, those bills and stuff that get reported to creditors and stuff, keep your credit clean. So that's another thing. Make sure that if you haven't started establishing credit, establish credit, because that runs the world. I don't care what anyone says.
Absolutely. You're absolutely
so
right.
Establish credit and then maintain good credit. So that means not being late on payments. If you don't want to pay interest, you don't have to pay before the due date. Then you don't have to worry about the interest that accrues.
Pay more than the minimum if you can.
Pay more than the minimum if you can. And so that's another thing, to your point, Nicole, in the beginning when you were saying some tips, that's the biggest thing of like putting money aside towards different things. So I may I'm only maybe able to, let's say your minimum is like, your minimum payment is like $25.
$25,
let's just say 39, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
If that is my minimum payment, then I can say, you know what, with this paycheck, I'm going to take $50. I'm going to double it. I'm going to take $50 and put it towards my credit card. So that is also a really good tip that you can do to say, okay, what is it? And then start to bring that number down by doubling whatever that minimum payment is, and making sure that you're paying your payments on time. So yeah.
Absolutely. You also brought up something that I think is really important, Randy, that stuck out in my brain was discipline. All of these processes, whether it's starting a business, learning how to invest in the stock market, or learning how to invest in yourself, learning about credit, what is good credit, how do you maintain it? This all takes discipline. It takes you sitting down, watching a webinar, logging in somewhere, YouTube, finding the tools, and then listening to them, taking notes, and then applying them. So I would say, being that I'm in teaching dance, and I've been teaching dance for many years within our community, working with people of color, we just lack discipline all the way around. We didn't learn it at home because our parents didn't have it. What I think is, my parents are disciplined, but what I think happened between like our grandparents' generation to our parents' generation to us is that our grandparents were so hard on our parents that when our parents became parents, they're like, I'm not going to parent my child like that. They were just too mean and they were just too hard. So then they were lenient on us in certain areas where they shouldn't have been, and vice versa. And then here the millennials come, we're taking a mix of what we learned from our grandparents, which is work hard. A lot of them are not necessarily formally educated in college, but they had a trade. My grandmother was a maid. She was a cook. They learned that and they're super good at it. Like they're the best, the best of the best of whatever that trade is. So we learned hard work, dedication, and discipline from that aspect. Then our parents come in and they're more educated. They've gone to college. They've worked in a career for, 20 years or whatever the case is. So we've learned, okay, now we need to get an education. We need to work hard, but what are we giving to our children? So what I've seen with millennials is we tend to take a different approach to parenting. I mean, I spank my children, I have over the years, but I'm more so of a talker. Like, there's a reason why you continue to make this same decision. Why are you doing this? Let's talk about the underlying conditions or the reasons why. With my parents, they didn't really do that. They were like, you need to just cut that out. I'm just going to beat you, or you're on punishment, and that's the end of it.
Yeah.
Could work with some children. You have to have a different strategy, different personalities. But overall, I don't think just like beating your kids without having the conversation or explaining to them why you're doing what you're doing is that beneficial in the long run. So with our generation, we've taken all these mixtures from grandparents to our parents to what we've experienced in the world as being adults and going into the workforce and education. And then we're passing this down to our children. So I think that our generation and then our children are going to be the ones that bring the generational wealth to our families and talk about financial literacy, because we understand it. My parents, they taught me and told me what they knew, which was limited because they've had to figure stuff out on their own. They were raised by the working population that didn't really necessarily didn't write checks. They paid cash for everything. They didn't have credit cards. So our parents come and they're like, well, I don't really know that much about credit cards. I was just given this credit card when I went to college. You just run up the bill, but don't understand, oh, snap, I need to keep my balance under 30%. Or what does that even mean? Or if I'm using this, I'm not supposed to be using my credit card to go buy a sweater unless it's for a job or like an interview. Why do I have a credit card? What is the purpose of this?
Mm-hmm.
So by the time it got to us, I made some financial mistakes early on, but I feel like we figured it out faster because we were at college with, white children and Asian students that have a completely different upbringing and understanding of financial wealth and
Yes.
literacy. So we experienced that through them, and they were looking at our credit cards and our debt, and we're like, this is not the way that I'm supposed to be doing this. I need to go figure out what's going on. So with me, I've already started talking to my children about credit. They may not understand it completely, but when they come of age and they're able to get a credit card and open a checking account, what is a money market savings account? They'll know, like, oh, I've heard these terms before from mom. Yes. I have an idea of what they are. Let me just figure out what works best for me. So I think it's imperative. I know it's imperative for our generation and moving forward for us to get our finances together, to get our credit together, because that's always where we end up lacking. It's not because we're not as smart or we don't work as hard or we're not as smart. It's none of those things. We have all the same tools, maybe not all the same resources as our counterparts of different races have, but we definitely have the tools and the wherewithal. Our discipline is not there. So that was very important that you brought that up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, I love the stuff that you were talking about in regards to really intergenerational trauma. We have a lot of different intergenerational traumas that have been passed down from generation to generation. Not to say that we haven't had strengths and resilience as well that's been passed down, Absolutely. But I think it's important to know that money and real estate and the distribution of wealth is highly influenced by our history. And people need to understand that it's not that our parents didn't want to own property, it's that they literally couldn't, or that they were told to live in a certain area, that there were restrictions and covenants and things like that prohibit us from acquiring wealth. So when you have all of those things, then yes, we are disadvantaged. Not to say that we can't now learn from that and grow from it. So I think that you made a good point of, millennials are a very eclectic group. We do take blends of different things and we try to apply it. I think that our thing now is, in a social media age, how do I find that balance of stunting, flossing, whatever it is, like being able to show my peers that I've made it, that I'm successful, and then also being real with yourself that, you know what, let's think functionality and not floss. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's think of how is this benefiting me in the end other than that 100 likes, 1,000 likes for that post. So I think that once you shift that mindset to, like I said, more of is this serving a function, a purpose? How is what I'm purchasing really helping me rather than can I afford it? I think that is going to be like the biggest jump that Black people need to, really kind of ingrain in their mindset. I love how you talked about your children and really educating them. I have 2 children as well. My son's young, really young, so he's not there yet. But my daughter who's 9 knows very well how to acquire wealth. And I taught her very early with just a very basic thing. So I'll give you an example. I found that she wasn't respecting her things, her material things, things that I bought with my money.
My hard-earned money.
So my hard-earned money. And once I started to realize that where there were it was like she would cut holes in things or like draw on things and just didn't care about things. And so what I did was I said, okay, the money that you get, that you receive, this is like your paycheck. And that your allowance or whatever you call it, the money that you get, this is yours. But what I need you to do is you need to set aside, a portion, right?
Yeah.
So pay yourself for something that maybe you want. But what you can do is either you could spend it now or you can save it for later. And so I did an experiment where I took her to Target. So I said, she did something for me. And so I gave her $10. And I said, Jay, I took her to Target in front of all the toys. And I said, you could either spend this $10 today, right now, and get something $10 or less. Or if you save it, you can come back with more money and buy the bigger things, the things
Right.
that you really want. And I think that's exactly what Black people need to realize. Don't buy the shiny little thing for what you can afford, where you're limited. Save that money for something that either you really, really want and that you sacrificed for and saved for, or, like I said, reinvest in yourself by only purchasing the things that are going to generate more income for yourself to give you a larger return. So, yeah, if my company, I need to dress a certain way, then yes, I'm reinvesting in myself by buying a new outfit. If I am, like I said, for myself, when I bought my house, I'll just say it. I'm not afraid of it. It's documented. I bought my house for $115,000 during the Obama time when the recession hit. I sold it 2017 for $300,000.
What did you put down, if you don't mind me asking?
I want to say 30,000, and that was including closing costs. So I can really get into it. I know that we wanted to save that segment for a different piece in terms of real estate.
A whole real estate situation.
Yes. For me, real estate has been the way that I've received multiple, streams of income. That has been that has given me the biggest return, which is why most wealthy people invest in real estate. And I know people do stocks and bonds, things like that. I don't have the time for that personally, and it's not a passion of mine. But I know residential like the back of my hand. And commercial real estate, I don't have any commercial at this moment, but I just know that everybody needs a place to live, and God is not creating new land anytime soon.
Right. So we got to work with what we got already.
Exactly. So to me, that is more valuable because no one can take it away from me. It's not a gamble. And I think that's the biggest thing for me personally, that why I don't do stocks and I go more towards property and real estate is because I know for sure a person needs a place to live. So what is that? That is income because they're paying me rent. They're paying down my mortgage. The mortgage, so the loan that I have on that house, so my $115,000 house note that I had to pay, it wasn't coming out of my pocket. I had somebody else paying for that. Right. So I had my tenants paying rent to me and a little extra. They paid market value rent. I didn't gouge anybody. But what I did do was say, okay, if my mortgage payment and everything is $700 a month, right, for my payment, and market value rent's $1,300, then guess what? I just made another $600. I just profited that. Yeah. So that's the benefit of owning property, is the fact that it's yours, and it's even though you don't physically see the money, you are generating wealth because it's appreciating in value. And then on the flip side, I'm also getting a steady stream of income because they're paying me rent on top of what I already
on top of the mortgage.
They're paying for my mortgage. So I look great to creditors. I have my history of paying a mortgage, and they're paying it for me. It's not coming out of my pocket. And so I knew that very quickly. Okay, so I sold it. I sold my property for $300,000. So think about it: 115 to 300,000. Took that money, and now I'm ready to reinvest it in other real estate. And that's how you continue to grow your financial portfolio. But again,
super cool.
I know tangent, but yes.
No, that's good. I do want to actually bring you back in like 2 weeks, because June I try to have a theme for each month, and May was mental health awareness, since May was mental health awareness month. So it just worked out great that I launched my channel during mental health awareness. And then June, due to the COVID and the fact that I'm hearing a lot of companies may not be opening until October. They're only going to be bringing back a percentage of their workforce, and it's just everything is still so up in the air. And then we have now the looting and the rioting. So now a lot of businesses are boarding up their doors because they don't want to be looted. So now they're telling their employees, hey, we're not going to be open at least for the next week or so until they get a hold on the situation. So stuff is so unsure, and unemployment is the highest it's been probably since, I don't know, after the Great Depression or something. Like it's really bad. So I thought June, this is a good time to talk about, okay, I have these X amount of dollars. What should I be doing with this? Where should I be putting this? real estate obviously is important, but some people their minds may not be there right now due to the fact that
Of
they don't have
course.
the income coming in, that they feel like they need to, or maybe they haven't been at their job for the minimum of 2 years that the banks are going to be looking at for your income verification portion.
Yes.
So definitely a conversation to have. And I do want you to come back and talk to the viewers about real estate specifically and all the wonderful things that go into that. But today was just to hit on where we struggle in our community and where can we pick that up from, like how can we bridge those gaps. And I think you did an amazing job of explaining discipline. That's part of that. You might have the money to buy the Louis Vuitton bag or the Jordans, but do you need them? What is the purpose? Is this just because you like it and you've wanted it for a long time? And like my mom would always tell me, every time you get your check, or especially when you've had like a really rough day at work, you should reward yourself with something. You worked hard, but it doesn't have to be a Louis Vuitton bag. Like, it doesn't need to be
Yes.
something super expensive. It could be a lotion. It could be taking yourself to the movies. Like, think about those types of things. And that's how I found myself in the last year or so saving a lot of money. When I would reward myself, it would be like I'm getting a pedicure, or I'm buying some lotion. I'm taking myself to the movies, something that's, $20-$30 opposed to $900, or, where if I do have this extra $500 after rent's been paid, I paid my credit card, my kids have what they need for now, where
Yes.
can I put this?
Exactly.
I'm going to save it, because you don't know when you're going to need it for an actual emergency. Your tire blows out, or, something happens to your car, or whatever. You're out of work and you're going to need that $500 for a cushion in other places, or you're saving for a longer term goal, like you want to own property. So
Yes.
you know that you're going to need at least 20,000 down. That's a process. You have to plan that out. You're not going to just wake up and be like, I have $20,000, because most of us don't make money like that. So
Exactly.
you have to strategically plan that out. Like, I'm going to take $50 out of, if I get paid every 2 weeks, I'm going to take $50. This goes towards my down payment house fund. Like you said,
Yes.
it's a process that takes discipline. You have to write it down, type it, whatever, you put a note in your phone, whatever that looks like for you. And then for me personally, with saving, not that I've never been a super big, like, even when I've had decent jobs that paid well. I mean, I've always had children. I had children at a young age. I've never been one to just buy everything. I always make lists at the beginning of the month of what I need, like personal needs, and then what my children need, if it's like they need, school clothes or shoes or whatever, the immediate needs that have to be met. And
Yes.
then after that, I'm like, okay, what else can I do out of this? I need to save, or I want to have a cushion for something happens. So I've always been one, it's just that Virgo part of my brain. I've always been one to write things down and plan things out. But for those
Yes.
that doesn't come natural for them, you have to practice that. It's like anything in life, you have to practice it and put it into practice. So
Exactly.
I feel like I'm hoping that when people watch this video and they're looking for steps to help them, if they don't reach out to me personally, and I'm going to put your information, whichever email or IG or whatever information you'd like to be added on here, so people can ask you questions if they have any.
Yes.
That they need to start there with, okay, I get X amount of dollars per month from unemployment, whatever. What do I want to accomplish with this month? Even if they can't look
Exactly.
at the whole year, because that's a little overwhelming, but okay, for June, what am I trying to have going on? I have my
Exactly.
rent that I need to pay, or maybe they have an amazing landlord that's being lenient with them due to what's happening, so they don't have that pressure of paying rent. They have a couple extra dollars. Save it. Just save
Exactly.
it.
Exactly.
If you don't
Save
have
it.
a specific goal, or you don't really know what to do with it, do nothing.
Yes.
Just put it,
Just
like you said, it doesn't exist. It's just there, over there.
yeah, and just real quick, that's what I did with. I actually opened a bank account that I did not have a debit card
Mm-hmm.
to, that I
Mm-hmm.
just threw money to. So what I would do is I would just take whatever I paid myself first, which was my goal was, because when I bought my goal was to buy a house. So I said I need to
Mm-hmm.
take, even if it's just $100 extra, and that
Mm-hmm.
goes away. Poof, I never see it.
Poof,
That
it's
went
gone.
into that account that I did not see, did not have a debit card to. I didn't have access unless I physically went into the bank.
That's smart.
So that's another just a little tip that
A
I
little
did
tool that
that
you can do.
helped.
Tip. That is true.
Yes, yes.
I had opened a Bank of America when I was working. The last position I had, I worked with financial strategy and compliance.
Mhm.
And so they would have customers open accounts at different banks so we could see like how it interfaces on a cell phone, like an Apple and Android. Does it look different on an Apple, a Mac?
Mm-hmm.
Do they offer these type of services that Chase doesn't? So just doing all the comparisons of different type of accounts. So I opened one because they pay you to open these accounts. And I took the money that I was paid for opening the account, put it in that account, and I did not request a debit card on purpose.
Yes.
So that I could just be like, and I actually forgot it was there. And then I got a statement in the mail yesterday and I was like, oh snap, I have a couple $100 in here, I forgot.
Exactly.
But that's good.
No, but exactly. And
yeah.
you see how that worked. When you literally forget about it, then, you know, and if you could just like, even if it's like a recurrent, if like, say you get your pay stub or something in directly deposited into one account, just have it sent every month on the first of the month. That's what I do right now. I have a certain amount that gets put into that account and I do not look at it or touch it. And then, yes, you will somehow get either a statement or maybe 6 months down the line, you just pop up, say, I wonder how much is in there. You will be surprised how quickly you will be able to generate that money that you need for whatever it is that you need. And that's what happened with my house. I didn't even realize I had that much in my account because I hadn't even looked at it. It literally was a process.
Like a year or so to save for the down payment?
It did.
Yeah.
For me, it did because I literally was, I live below my means. I don't care about these people. I really don't. I care about the long-term wealth. Like to me, the instant gratification, that's another thing that I think our generation has a problem with is wanting that instant gratification. Instead of thinking instant gratification, I mean, I was pregnant with my daughter and my mom scared me. She's like, you're going to need this much money. You're going to do this. And so because I was so freaked out about me having to live with my daughter and provide for her, I did just my basic needs. And guess what? Yes, I didn't see a lot of people within that year, so I couldn't floss and flaunt or whatever. My focus was saving. And guess what? It ended up helping me, like I said, because it allowed me to buy that home. It has literally paved the way for me in terms of being financially fit. And that's what I look at as being financially fit. And it's not to brag or anything. I'm just saying that you can do it too. I'm saying that if you sacrifice 1 year or maybe 6 months, whatever it is, to get to that end goal. I always educate my clients in real estate. When they tell me, hey, Randy, I really want to buy, but I need money. That is literally what I tell them. Sacrifice for a certain amount of time, have a number of money that you put into an account and you leave it, and then I'll see you back at this time. And in the meantime, make sure your credit is on point.
Get your credit together.
Your payments. Yes.
Get your credit together. So those are like 5 amazing tips that you just gave that are tangible that people can use like today. They can start and look at their account today and see, where can I refocus? Where can I put some money? Maybe opening another account is like opening a savings account if you already have an existing checking, and then say, I don't want a debit card, because a debit card, when you open an account online, they always give you that option. Do you want a debit card? Just say no. And it's already attached to your checking. It's there so you can see it, but you don't have a debit card, so you don't have access to it. You won't be tempted to be out like, oh, I really want to get this shirt. I'm gonna just swipe and use my savings. No, because you don't have a card. So there's that. So thank you so much, Randy. That was very valuable information. That is definitely going to be helpful. I know it was helpful for me just to reinforce some things that I already knew. Some people that really don't know where to start and where to go, these are really good starting points. Where can should they have questions beyond this video, where's the best way, or how's the best way to reach you?
They can any of you can DM me on my Instagram. So I'm going to use my personal Instagram. I do have a business because, like I just said, it helps you financially as well. But you can do on my personal account. So my personal account's at I am Randy Renee. So Randy with an I. So it's IAMRANDIRENEE.
Okay. And I'll put that in the comments on the video. Once it's posted, they'll be able to see that there. Again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And your wealth of knowledge, for being so young. You know so much, so wise, girl. You're so wise.
Just love knowledge. I love it. I love information.
It's great.
And I love spreading information. So please, if you do have questions or anything and you need anything for me, as Nicole can attest, I am an open book. I am always willing to support and help. So whatever you need, I just want to see us do very well. I want to see the Black community just to completely increase in wealth, increase in just freedom, increase in freedom.
Yes.
Because I think when you have wealth, you have opportunities, you have freedom.
Yes.
And that's what true success
100%.
is, in my opinion. So
Absolutely. I totally agree. You can stop the recording now.
all right.